Hello, good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra. We are live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 around the world on myjoyonline.com. I am Samuel Kojo-Brace.
And I am Faustina Safo. Tonight, ahead of President John Mahama's address on his 120-day social contract with Ghanaians, the opposition New Patriotic Party says the administration has woefully underperformed. We'll also hear what some Ghanaians think about President Mahama's first 4 months in office.
Also tonight, retired Supreme Court Judge Justice William Atuguba comes out strongly accusing the country's highest court of depoliticization as he criticizes the MPP's protest against the suspension of the Chief Justice Justice Torkornoo.
Also tonight, Bank of Ghana attributes recent surge in the cedi's value to key factors, including a boost from gold reserve, strong remittance inflows, and cocoa earnings.
A little over an hour, President John Mahama will speak to the nation about his assessment and progress on a 120-day social contract he had with Ghanaians, from scrapping nuisance taxes like the e-levy and COVID-19 levy to restoring integrity in public office. The president promised a sweeping turnaround in just 120 days to reset the country onto the path of economic growth. But has he delivered? Emmanuel Jivenu has more in the following report.
Even before his prime-time address, the opposition New Patriotic Party is out with a fierce counterattack.
Which university lecturer will give you 46% and you will pass the exams? In which university in the world that you will get 46% and you will get a pass mark?
Backing that view is Professor Isaac Bwidi of the Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy. He says there's more talk than real change.
In terms of execution, in terms of the promises made, this present administration is course F. And that should tell you that the reset agenda has not taken off.
But not everyone is buying the criticism. Former GIMPA rector, Professor Stephen Adai, believes the president has passed his first major test.
He was on a good track. He had done a few things which are commendable. I think that he has delivered on having a lean government. He expeditiously put together his government. Some may question some of the appointees, but generally I think that he has done extremely well there.
Economist Professor Patrick Esumin agrees, calling the government start, quote, credible, despite a few missed targets.
Removal of some taxes. We've seen that in the budget that was read, a lot of them he has managed to remove. And, you know, I think his appointments in relation to the economy has been sound.
And beyond the expert, the people are weighing in. It's a mixed reaction on the street of Accra and Kumasi.
24-hour economy. Obey betting tax every ho. Obey e-levy every ho. E-levy no. Me send him sika ma obi nti obi anteme nti ano nyam faso de ma me betting tax me ntwa bet me ntwa bet me ntwa bi kurada nti so yifi wa nyam faso de.
I'm not impressed by anything he's done so far. About the scrapping of the betting tax, I believe it's rather making the youth lazy. He's done well so far. I'm particularly impressed about the scrapping of the betting tax and the reduction in ministers.
The laws of that allows mining to still go on has not been reversed, So which is the major problem?
So he has been able to establish a lean government. He has been able to make sure that some of the taxes like the e-levy has been cancelled.
As the clock hit 8 p.m., President John Mahama will face the nation with a fact. But the question remains, has Ghana seen real reform or just good intentions? Emmanuel Jivenu's report for Joy News.
So what exactly did President John Mahama promise Ghanaians? And has he kept his word? Caleb Ziblim of our research desk has the full breakdown and joins me in studio with that. Caleb, let's understand. How many, what are we looking at?
So the president's 120-day social contract, he promised 25 key items to be delivered in 120 days. And per our checks, he had completed 52% of it. That's 13 out of the 25 promises he made.
Okay.
So we have 28 in progress and 20 not started.
Okay.
So out of all the promises, 52% have been completed.
Okay.
So let's get into some of them. So for governance, we have 4 promises from there. He has nominated his cabinet ministers. He has constituted the leanest government with a reduction in number of ministers, although the efficiency is yet to be seen. He has established a code of conduct for government officials, which was launched yesterday. He has also, 2 days ago, sorry. He has also placed a ban on political appointees from purchasing state assets. When it comes to the economy and finance, these were 9 promises, and the highest of all of them. He has held the National Economic Dialogue. With the scrapping of taxes, he has scrapped COVID e-levy, betting tax, and the emissions levy. However, the COVID levy is still on the books.
Okay.
And they've admitted that they cannot scrap it within the 120-day timeline.
Okay.
It will be scrapped later in the year.
Okay.
Also, taxes on imported vehicles for industry and agric, that has not been done. That has not been done. The 24-hour economic implementation, that was mentioned in the budget, but however, it has not been implemented yet because some amendments to some various laws need to be done, and that hasn't been done. They have allocated seed money for the Women's Development Bank. Also, they've launched the Ejuma program, 1 million coders program, and the National Apprenticeship program as well. They were also supposed to review taxes to allow the imports of salvage vehicles. That has not been done as well. Restructure loss-making SOEs for profitability. That has also not been done. However, there are talks about ECG privatization and all of that, but at the moment, that has not been done.
Okay.
And then establish the Accelerated Development Council. That has been done.
That has been done. Okay.
When it comes to education, they held the National Consultative Conference on Education. They've implemented a no-fee policy for first-year students. However, the disbursements have not begun yet.
Okay.
He has introduced the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, or the Mahama Cares, and then streamlining government scholarship administration. That has not been done because there needs to be a bill before Parliament. The Education Minister says they are working on it, but it hasn't been submitted to Parliament yet. For social programs, we have 3 of them. The free sanitary pad for female students, that has been done.
So they've distributed the sanitary pads?
Most of the students are on vacation at the moment.
Okay.
So the disbursements has not been fully rolled out fully at the moment.
But they've launched the
project.
Okay.
Exactly. And then compensating flood victims in Oti, Bono East, and Savannah regions. This was allocated in the budgets. However, disbursement has not been done again. Pro VRS at Kosumbo and Pongdam spillage impact. The Energy Ministry has set up a committee for this. However, they've not produced a report for it.
I'm aware that this week we will be having a report on this particular probe coming out. Yeah. So.
And then security and justice. They were supposed to purge security agencies from militia and vigilante elements. Publicly, we've not heard anything about this.
Okay.
And reopen investigation into unresolved criminal cases. We've seen some headway in the Ahmed Swale investigation, but then that's it from there.
Okay.
And conduct forensic audits into financial management cases. Also, we've seen some prosecutions here and there recently with the
National Signals Bureau.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then that's all. There was a list of items in the 120-day promise that has not been touched yet. And then for the environment, ban illegal mining and activities in forest reserves. The controversial LI 2462, which the NDC promised to repeal, was rather amended. However, the officials from the NDC now say that they will repeal it once Parliament starts sitting again. But however, it's still on the books. The LI has not been repealed yet.
But they said they would do it within 120 days.
120 days, exactly.
Okay.
But then they have launched the Tree for Life and then Blue Water initiatives.
Okay.
And then finally, on tourism, they've launched the Black Star Experience,
sure.
which has been done.
All right. Zibli, I'm grateful to you. So that's the performance of President John Mahama and his government in the first 120 days. Well, in these first 120 days, has Mahama's policies, started yielding the dividend, or do we see some semblance of giving confidence to the Ghanaian people? Well, let's try and bring in the CEO of the Chamber of Agriculture, Anthony Morrison, who's joining us now for some conversation on this. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining here. Now, when it comes to policies of President Mahama in this 120 days, have you seen any real impact on the agricultural sector?
Well, thank you very much, and very good evening to your charity viewers. Yes, of course, a lot has been done in the 120 days. We are talking about the launching of the Ghana Fit program, which was launched in Techima last month. We have also seen the president have launched the committee on accelerated export development. There are several interventions that are currently ongoing.
Okay.
For instance, I heard one of your colleagues talking about the removal of taxes on agriculture, and we have been in touch with the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
We had the opportunity to engage the GRA boss on the sideline of the National Economic Forum, and some of these discussions are ongoing, and this must all be integrated into the upcoming the National Agribusiness Dialogue. Is the dialogue that is actually going to spell out the policy and the strategy, which would then have the act or the tax removed. If you look at the agriculture for economic transformation, several of the interventions are ongoing, and if you understand, well, agriculture is not a 120 days activity. But one of the things we are very much happy about is the continuous decline or the strengthening of the CD against the major currencies is supporting agriculture imports as we speak.
Okay.
We are looking at the fact that inflation in terms of food has been coming down, and that tells you that there are good signals for the economy.
Okay. But I mean, what immediate interventions would you like to see from this administration to strengthen our food production capacity and agribusiness growth in this country?
Well, to tell you the blunt truth, the current situation in the agriculture sector requires quite a robust policy. So we need a long-term intervention in terms of a long-term agriculture sector and investment policy. This is where the investors will see the long-term strategy and vision of the country, and they can bring in the long-term investment. Agriculture cannot thrive on the face of short-term policies and short-term programs.
Okay.
So there is a need to look at long-term strategies. We're looking at 15 years, 30 years strategy, because if we are talking about value addition, agro-processing, export, this will not happen within 5 years. If we are looking at commercial farms that will supply feed to the industry, we're looking at commercial farms that are able to have continuous production to be able to look at value addition.
Okay.
And I must also applaud the Minister for Agribusiness, Trade and Investment with regards to the ongoing intervention to launch industry program.
Okay.
And this is a major change.
I'm grateful to you, Anthony, for joining us with your perspectives on the sector.
Well, ahead of President John Mahama's address tonight, Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbawa is standing in front of the Credentials Hall at the Jubilee House, where the broadcast will take place shortly, and he joins us now with details of preparations so far. Maxwell, what can you report?
Yeah, hello, Faustina.
Hi, Maxwell. I can hear you loud and clear. Paint a picture for me. What's happening?
Well, as it stands now, preparations are underway for that broadcast to begin. Where I'm standing right now, when you enter, there's just a gate right behind me. On your right-hand side is the credentials room where that broadcast will be taking place from. Now, some people, some government officials with inside knowledge of what the president is expected to say, tell us that he is expected to outline all the 26 promises that he made in that social contract prior to the 2024 election, and then provide an update on the status of each of the promises that he made to the Ghanaian people, and then also talk about the way forward. Now, we're told that another thing he's likely to also talk about is also reiterate the point that although the 120-day social contract expires today, the governance of this country is going to take another phase, another gear, taking it to another level and improving on what it has done currently.
Okay.
But we know that out of the 26 promises, more than half of them have been delivered by the President Mahama administration. Some government appointees who we've been speaking to tell us that they are particularly excited about the pace of the Mahama administration and the pace they were able, to deliver most of promises. So basically, that is what is happening here. Some members of the press who would also be streaming the broadcast live have also positioned their cameras inside. So
everything is set, and we're looking forward to that. Maxwell Agbaba joining us live there just to give you a sense of what we should expect. Within the next few minutes, the president will be addressing the nation, and you want to stick and stay with us here on the Joe News channel because we'll be bringing you that full broadcast. Well, the Ghanaian cedi is experiencing a remarkable turnaround against the US dollar, showcasing unprecedented stability. Recently, it surged from 15.75 cedi to 13.40 pesos on the retail market and even lower on the interbank market. But what's driving this sudden surge, and how can the gains be sustained? Well, we've been capturing all that in this report.
Ghana's cedi is making a remarkable turnaround, catching many by surprise. The currency gained 5.3% in April alone and 7.4% since January. On the interbank market, it's even stronger, going for 13 cedis, 40 pesos to $1.
The notable performance we've had, like you have discussed in the studio, has been supported by the significant accumulation in gold reserves, as a result of our domestic gold purchase program.
Indeed, two main factors are driving the cedi's rise: booming export and a weakening dollar. Gold export brought $2.3 billion in just the first 2 months of 2025, Ghana's best in nearly a decade. Cocoa exports are also up sharply, generating $835 million, nearly triple last year's figure. Add to that rising remittances, and the Bank of Ghana's growing gold reserves now at 31.37 tons, and the cedi is enjoying rare tailwind. Through the Gold for Reserves program, the central bank now purchases 20% of all gold output, helping reduce reliance on the US dollar. Chart showing gold reserves growth from 8.78 tons to 31.37 tons. The US dollar's own troubles are also playing a part.
We've also had significant foreign exchange purchases from the mines and the international oil companies. We've also had significant inflows from cocoa, like you've shown from your graph to viewers. We've also had significant and strong inflows from remittances.
The Bank of Ghana has already injected $490 million into the market this April to ease demand pressures. But experts say sustaining the cedi's strength will depend on staying disciplined and not letting temporal success lead to complacency.
Well, joining us for more on this is currency analyst Kanshi Central and head of business and economic bureau of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Charles Kusi Apia Kubi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. I'll start with you, Mr. Charles. Guta, how is the cedi performing so far based on your analysis? You just put out a statement yesterday applauding this government for how well they have managed the cedi. Tell us more about how it's impacting businesses. Well, whilst we wait for you to just fix your mic, let me bring in Charles Kanshi Central at this point. Mr. Kanshi, how do we sustain the appreciation so far, especially when we see that our cedi is performing a bit better as compared to previous months?
Well, good evening to your listeners. It's a remarkable performance in the last few months. And you have eloquently outlined the main drivers of that performance. But a big part of it is also the kind of confidence that is returning to the market. We've gone through Q1, which is typically the volatility season without much depreciation. And Q2 is also going along quite well. the anchoring factor beyond all the inflows is the confidence in the market, the sentiments. And that sentiment is what we must work hard to sustain. The speculators are not having a field day because the CD is strengthening and there is a fundamental support for it. The moment there is a 10 in that level of sentiment, speculators will want to test the market. And once we've seen it at 17, it can always trace its path back there if the conditions warrant that speculative activities thrive.
So how do we sustain the gains, really?
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, that a number of things are at play on the monetary side. The tone from monetary policy is one that seems to want to anchor the monetary policy position firmly. And we've seen that in the policy decision. We've seen the commitment to bring down inflation. On the fiscal side, we are reducing the deficit, size of deficit. We are reducing the spending. We are committed to growing revenue, and we are being fiscally responsible. These things bring the confidence that is sustaining the decline or the appreciation in the city. And we must hold on to those firmly as a first leg. The second leg will be that what other ways can we build reserve and resilience into our FX administration beyond the gold board and then gold for reserve program? Currently, that serves us well, but we need to look at the real sectors of the economy and the things we export. Currently, there is a trade war. China, a number of other regions are slapped with huge tariffs that might drive them to be uncompetitive. Okay. What are we doing? Ghana may be suffering the lowest of those tariffs. What are we doing to bring FDIs into our local economy to produce some of the things meant for the external market, and our exports revenue will grow out of that kind of strategic intervention? We need to look at it carefully.
Okay.
And what other things do we import that we can leverage this tariff war to produce locally, or find ways of reducing their import into the economy? Okay. Those structural issues must be looked at, but those are more long-term in nature. In the meantime, in the short term, we must anchor the sentiment in the market.
Courage, I have to let you go at this time. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, retired Supreme Court Judge William Atuguba has criticized the opposition MPP over its recent Save the Judiciary protest, describing it as, quote, hypocrisy, unquote. He questioned the party's moral authority to demand the removal of judges handling the case of suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. In his exclusive interview with Elton Broby, comes after the Supreme Court dismissed an injunction application seeking to stop proceedings for the removal of the Chief Justice. There's more in this report.
Retired Justice William Atuguba did not hold back criticizing what he calls the selective outreach of the new patriotic party.
How were they when they were in office? How did they perform? Transparently? Neutrally? In the interest of the people? Did they do that? What? This is the kind of thing I just hate. Pure hypocrisy.
He pointed to what he sees as double standards, reminding the public that Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo herself once empaneled a bench to hear a case she had a direct interest in.
You ordain a dictatorship in place. You have been overthrown through the ballot. Your last citadel is the Chief Justice. You are battling. Hey, if this one falls, we are all out. That is what is happening.
Then it will appear that our Supreme Court is politicized.
Certainly. Certainly.
But that's not good for a healthy democracy.
Certainly not.
Justice Atuguba did not stop there. He warned of deepening political interference in the judiciary and called for urgent reforms, starting with how judges are appointed.
Before her suspension, when this challenge came, when the process was commenced for her removal, and Godfrey Dame and others brought suits, injunction. Who empaneled?
The suspended Chief Justice.
She had no interest in her own matter.
But she was not on the panel.
No, but, I mean, look, empaneling involves picking and choosing.
Who to sit?
Yes. You think she had no interest in that? Huh? Of course, there have been some decisions saying that the Chief Justice is the only person who can panel and nobody if she's around. With hindsight, I think that those decisions have to be looked at again.
He also accused the Ghana Bar Association of picking and choosing when to speak up, calling its silence on key issues troubling. On broader governance, Justice Atukuba said the public's growing frustration reflects poorly on the former President Akufo-Addo's administration. He also backed stronger asset declaration rules. Justice Atukuba called for a strong constitutional review. He emphasized the need to take appointments to key positions such as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and Supreme Court justices out of the hands of the president.
Well, let's bring in co-chair of Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senano here. Grateful to you, sir. Now, how much of threat does partisan political interference pose to judicial independence in Ghana today?
It's a major threat. It's a major threat because, you see, we want to talk about judicial neutrality. That's the assumption with which we all approach cases in court. Because you're expecting that they'll dispense justice objectively, looking at the facts and not pandering to one party or the other. And so, to the extent that the Supreme Court justices themselves, the political parties, at least one, is alluding to the fact that there's been some kind of partisan representation or parking of the courts. There's a risk that nobody will have confidence in what kind of rulings we receive from this court. So it's a major threat to the pillars of our democracy.
Now, what concrete reforms would you recommend to insulate the judiciary from partisan politicization?
I think that, we have an opportunity within the scope of the Constitutional Review Committee to make some proposals. I think the situation where you have presidential appointments to these specific levels of the judiciary and whatnot, we want to marry this to some kind of meritocracy. Let's have a system that is much more about the people within the system, and if they have achieved by merit the satisfactory experience and skill set to be able to move to another level. Not so much that one government has the opportunity to just decide and ad infinitum, we don't have ceilings. I think we need to think through that some more and have a system that allows us to put people who have the experience and the process itself can be shielded from political party interference. It could just simply be, let's say, the judicial system or the legal bodies make nominations, and we have a process of screening, and then the appointments come. I think that something can be done about the process.
Grateful to you, Ellen, for joining us here. Now, let me bring in lawyer Abraham Mamalaba. He's a member of the NDC's legal team, and he joins us for a reaction on this. Now, you have earlier said, looking at how the appointments to the Supreme Court has been, people feel that it's now time to purge the Supreme Court. What do you mean by that?
Well, we should ensure that when appointing judges to the Supreme Court, political coloration, political consideration should not be part of the considerations. And I say this because we have situations where you have a political activist, a person who once contested for parliamentary seat is made to become a Supreme Court judge. What do you expect that person to do if matters of matters which are of a political nature come before him?
But Justice Atukuba alluded in his interview that he has been on the ticket of the PMP before, but that didn't cloud his judgment when he was at the bench.
Yes, but that is just one example where you can find a person of that nature not, giving rulings according to his political coloration. But we should desist. We should consciously desist from putting such people on the bench. The next thing too is to look at the appointing processes. Do we necessarily need to have the president doing the appointments? Can we have a situation where when vacancies are available, people will apply, judges will apply, those who are qualified will apply, and then the Public Service Commission will call for an interview to deal with those matters. So I think that if we have an effective and efficient judiciary, it inures to the benefit of all of us. Else, how would you explain an attorney general who used to receive unanimous decisions, only lost a case when his government was no more in power? How do you explain that? That for me is curious, because it's a person who would always get unanimous decisions, and he's lost power, and all of a sudden he has lost a case. I cannot get that.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, Lawyer Brahma Maliban, for joining us here.
Well, you're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll be back after this quick 10. Please stay tuned in.
Well, welcome back from the break.
To other stories now. 4 men accused of attempting to traffic cocaine through the Swiss Port Cargo Terminal at Kotoka International Airport have been granted bail totaling 13 million Ghana cedis by an Accra High Circuit Court. Now, each accused must provide 4 sureties, one backed by property worth at least 1 million Ghana cedis. The suspects face charges of conspiracy, and unlawful possession of narcotics. Legal Affairs correspondent Latif Idrisu has the rest of the story.
Over 900,000 United States dollars. That is how much the substance is worth, according to the lead prosecutor. So the trial judge, after hearing the arguments of the prosecutor and lawyers for accused person, came to the conclusion that the prosecution failed to make convincing arguments why the suspects should not be granted bail, and so ruled that she was going to grant these 4 suspects bail. And here are the bail conditions. 1, they've been granted 13 million Ghana cedis bail per head. Each person here is on a 13 million Ghana cedis bail. The 4 accused persons are expected to meet these conditions before they will be granted any bail whatsoever. So 4 sureties, all must be civil servants, and they must be earning not less than 5,000 as net salary every month. One of the sureties must be justified with a landed property not less than 1 million Ghana cedis, and it is a 13 million Ghana cedis bail on each person. Each person has to produce 4 sureties, and then out of the 4 sureties, one of them must justify with 1 million Ghana cedis worth of property, and they are to report to NACOC twice every week. They are to submit their passports to the court registrar. And additionally, the accused persons have been placed on a stop list across all the exit points of this country: land, sea, and air. So notices have been issued to the immigration officers across the country. And so these individuals or these accused persons cannot travel out of the jurisdiction because they've been placed on a stop list. From the court complex, Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
Well, I read from that the Minerals Commission has begun tracking the importation and use of excavators in the country as part of intensified efforts to curb illegal mining, widely known as Galamsey. Under the program, especially trained enforcement officers have been deployed to key entry points to tag and register all excavators entering Ghana. The following report has more.
According to projects lead for the Ghana Mining Repository and Tracking System, Sylvester Akpa, the machines will not only be tagged at the port, but also fitted with GPS trackers. These devices will enable authorities to monitor the movement and usage of the excavators. The goal, Dr. Akpa emphasized, is to prevent the misuse of heavy machinery in unauthorized or illegal mining activities which have caused significant environmental degradation and water pollution.
The excavators are good. Yeah, we can use them to do whatever we have to do for construction and other things. But most of them, even though it is declared at the ports that is going to be used for construction, find their ways into the forest reserves to aid illegal mining. And this has become a huge distraction to our localities. If you go to Takwa, Pristiabo, Goso, and the like, it's something else. So in this control room, we are going to have eyes on the movement of each excavator. We are going to track them. We are going to know who owns them. And at any point in time, we are going to pair each excavator to a concession at a time. That is what we are going to do. Because if we don't do that, it means that once it's finished working here, it can quickly move to another concession.
Convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Ken Ashigbe, has commended the initiative. He stressed the importance of collaboration between the Minerals Commission, security agencies, and other relevant authorities. Dr. Ashigbe urged that the data collected through the tracking system be actively used to identify offenders and that those caught engaging in illegal mining should face swift prosecution.
With this tracking and all of that, the police would then be able to, with the integration, if your excavator is not meant for a particular region, when you get to the border, the barrier, the police should be able to tell, based on the QR code that you have on your vehicle, to say that this one can't come into my region. So that everything that we need to be able to deal with this terrorism that is going on is currently in existence. And I think the major call to the minister and then the CEO is to be able to scale this up. And Doc, so it means that we don't have a capacity issue. The system would be able to do the 7,000, easily. Yes. So we don't have a capacity issue in terms of what has been done. It is good that the Minerals Commission says they are going to decentralize and then bring, for me, it will be bringing the call centers close to the regions and getting a lot more people.
The tracking program is part of a broader national strategy to sanitize the small-scale mining sector, protect natural resources, and ensure that mining activities benefits the populace.
Away from that, it's been nearly 5 years since part of Kanshi Central Market were ravaged by fire. Since that incident, the market has not recorded any major fire outbreak. For our fire series, Breaking the Fire Circle, MFR Deti reports on the measures helping to keep the Kanshi market safe once again.
The Kanshi market's fire in 2020 left behind scorched stalls, displaced traders, and millions of cedis in losses. But it also sparked a shift in how the market approached safety. In response to the devastation, authorities established a dedicated fire service personnel right within the market. They now carry out routine inspections and offer regular safety education to traders in the market. Mr. Robert Jerry Agbavem, Deputy Managing Director of the Kanshi Market, outlines the strategies that have helped avert further disasters.
We run a 24-hour service as far as our maintenance team and then the security teams are concerned. And so we have security personnel on duty 24/7. And so they ensure that every now and then there's somebody manning the entire market. All the shops, we ensure that they are closed. Nothing is left unattended to. More so, we have fire extinguishers, assembled at vantage points where as soon as there's any spark of fire, quickly it's attended to.
Madame Eva Mason, a trader and secretary to the Market Association, tells Joy News that she and her colleagues now feel much safer.
We are very safe in Kanshi Market. One,
The Markets Association is very strong, and we always collaborate with the management. We have the fire service personnel here 24/7. They are always here, and they go around and check. And with the security, every evening when we close and we go home, they come and check that switch outside. And everybody has fixed the switch in front of the shops, so they go around and check. If it's on, they put it off. So Kanshi Market, we are safe 24/7.
Well, it's known as the tree of life, feeding families, curing illnesses, and sustaining generations. But in the Upper East region town of Binduri, the baobab tree is dying. In communities like Bansi, changing weather patterns and environmental decline are crippling a tree that once held entire communities together. Today on Climate Focus, Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin brings you a story of fading roots, lost livelihoods, and a call for urgent action.
Across the savannas of northern Ghana, the baobab tree towers like an ancient guardian, but today these giants are in distress. In Binduri, especially in the Bansi community, farmers are seeing the trees slowly die and are no longer producing fruits.
When I moved into this house, the flourishing baobab tree was a valuable resource for us. We would harvest its leaves to make nutritious soups. However, over the past 3 years, the tree has struggled with poor fruit production. To make matters worse, whenever it does produce fruit, pests seem to appear, further diminishing its yield. This decline has been concerning, and finding a solution to restore the tree's health and productivity has become a priority.
Baobab leaves are an important part of meals in northern Ghana. The fruit is full of vitamin C, but now some baobab trees have stopped growing leaves.
The baobab tree is no longer yielding enough leaves and fruit. You will need to buy them elsewhere. Additionally, the tree's shade is diminishing, and we are unsure what's causing its decline.
Experts say there are many reasons. The weather keeps changing and windstorms happen without warning. Trees that lived for hundreds of years are now falling because they can't fight these problems.
It's a storm that came and pulled it down. And as I was telling you, traditionally it helps as a protection. All that it happens in the night. All that it happens in the night, the time that nobody will be under it.
Some farmers are asking for help. They want research and protection for one of Africa's most important natural resources. Unless urgent action is taken to steady, restore and protect, the tree of life may become a tree of the past. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.